Guess what? Today is March 4, and 2 days ago, March 2nd, is 50 seconds anniversary for the time I went to the Reeducation camp. So I think a total on that day we left in one train is 1,100 people. And 52 years later, 2 days ago, so we had a little Zoom meeting. About 50 people from 8 countries to talk about this event and talk about just discussing what's the short effect and the long effect and to our generation. Just right now we're already all senior citizens now. So that's 52 years ago. So it's very interesting meeting. And the question we're discussing and also quite interesting. And so I want to talk about a little bit of that. And on March 1st, before the meeting, and we had, because you cannot talk same time because it's not an opera. And so we had a host for the meeting. And 50% of people, total 50 people enjoying the meeting. 50% are living in China. You know, interesting enough, Zoom, that software is only software you can download in China and here. So remember last year we were talking about the Zoom also is like a TikTok. Maybe the Chinese government was controlling and listening. Probably true. That's why they no problem. They can download. And so before the meeting, the host sent me a list and tell me lots of words, sensitive words I cannot say, like a CCP or something like that. So I have to be very careful when I answer the question. So basically, it's pretty organized. That saying is that we have to. The host generate all the questions, and then each country, and we have one person designated to answer. And so I'm the one with the answer for representing people living in the United States. So we have 8 people, different parts in East Coast and West Coast, all over the place. And another 10 people live in Canada. So Northern California, Northern America, total about 18 people. So now, and it's kind of interesting, you know, they censor, so we had to be careful avoiding lots of things. So they gave me some code. I said, well, is it like we are underground now? It's the code like if you want to say Cultural Revolution, and you had to say WG. And if you want to say CCP, never say CCP because they're going to pick up immediately. So you will say ZG. ZG means the Chinese Communist Party. Okay? So something like that. I said, well, I look at the list. I said, how can I remember that? You know, maybe I answer or make a mistake. They said that if they found that the host will be very careful, listen to especially people not living in China. And so, you know, so he can stop immediately. So otherwise, somebody listen, maybe record, who knows, right? So I said, wow, you know, I never been that kind of Zoom meeting. You had to be careful everything you say. And they said, why not? They said, they look at the America, you know, the YouTube and the Twitter. So they are censored too. You know, some sensitive words they picked up too. They're going to shut you down or something. So I said, well, maybe we are the same place now. So I cannot laugh at you, right? So that's the conversation pre the meeting. So then anyway, besides that, we still had a very successful meeting. And it's about 6 o'clock Pacific time. So in Vancouver, in Canada, was 7 o'clock p.m. And China already the 16 hour ahead of us. So it's about 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. And so the first question is from 50% of people living in China. So they say that they review this event, this movement, up to mountain, down to village. That's what they call this movement, the name. Okay, this movement, 52 years, after 52 years to review this, and they feel, it's not, you cannot say it's the wrong movement or something very bad. That's the Chinese people's view. And they say that because they feel they were sacrificed, we as the generation will sacrifice ourselves to the country's peace and for the society's harmony. So that's why they come out this. They even made a little video and to have some movie clips. And some of it was pictures, everything, and then time to remember the time 52 years ago, March 2nd, we left Shanghai, go to Yunnan. And so the slogan and also entire tone of the video is said that we are not losers. We are sacrificed for our country, so we are heroes. So that's why they wanted to people and for the next generation to think about them this way. Then actually also including me, that because I'm not living in China anymore. So they generate the question, and for people living in the United States to answer that first question, say, my God, I have to be the first one to say, I hope I not say something they really shut me down. So they say the question is what I think about, we are the hero or we are the loser. And our sacrifice is worth it or not worth it after 52 years. So I say that, to me, this question is, if the country, the ruler of the country, leader of the country, whatever you call government of the country, and that they were supposed to serve people's interests, right? That's their purpose, to have them. And why they always want the people to sacrifice their interests and their happiness. Think about that. When we left it, they're not just we suffering, also our families, entire families. Each individual families have a tremendous suffering for years, at least 10 years or more. And so I say, if the government or whatever leader, ruling class, whatever you call, it's for serve people, why always want the people to sacrifice? Why? So that's my answer. I say I wanted them to talk about it. And that, of course, nobody talks. I think it's immediately pointing out that the CCP, like, how come they can't talk? So I said, oh, forget it. But I had to say what I think, right? And I did. And then, think about that. So I go on. I said that, we, in any civilized country, any country, if their government say for people's interest, for people's happiness, so their citizens, especially the children, teenagers, they have the constitution right to receive the education. But they took away from us. They closed down the school at least 10 years. Even after 10 years, they reopened with, they say, reform, so everything changed. And interesting enough is the last high school graduate, have a formal high school education is a 1966 graduation, that class, 1966 high school, senior high. My older brother just graduated 1966, and then Cultural Revolution happened, so sent them to, he went to a plantation near Shanghai, and dig the dirt for 5 years. And then after, I think 7 years later, they're going to reopen the school. There's no teacher. There's no teacher. You know, education is a continuing thing. It's like a river, right? You have elementary school, high school, college. Right? So college, they have the teacher graduate, so they can teach in high school. So you stop everything. And when they reopen, has no teacher in high school. So who can be a teacher? And that's only one is 1966 class. They are the only one had a formal, complete education, high school education. So they are the most qualified can train to be a teacher, to teach in high school. Because the 1966, the college graduate, and they're supposed to be a teacher, now they have to teaching in college because just everything just upside down. And so this education disruption in China, so-called Cultural Revolution, and not just 10 years disrupt, entire the generation, then generation after, and probably 2 or 3 generations to recovery. And still didn't, lots of things still missing. And the level of the education still very low, you know, my opinion, because the people younger than me, and they didn't even finish the elementary school. At least I have a formal elementary school in Chinese language, and are able to read and write basic things. But not talking about better and advanced things, just basic stuff. And but people younger than me, they can't even know how to read and write. You know, that happens even now, after 52 years. In America, I meet a lot of people from China, they're younger than me. So I try to ask them something about the Chinese language. They said they never heard about it. They don't know anything. I was shocked. But then immediately I remember, oh, you know what? They didn't even go to elementary school. You know, so that's the story. But I tell you, just recently, here was we stopped at the school for 1 year, right? And then now the teachers union still refused to open the school. So what's the side effect? I mean, effect to the people, for the kids. You know, I just don't understand that. It's not just the constitutional right issues, and the kids have a right to receive education, and how can they don't give it to them, right? So because the Zoom learning, online learning, and then it's a face-to-face, is totally different thing. You know, so that's my thought about that. So I answered the question about this first one, but as nobody discussed with me, because obviously, and now that the people raise the question, because they don't want to talk about it, you know. And so we had to go to other questions. So basically, we discussed several questions, but the main thing is this movement's value, and why up to today they still wanted to brainwash people, say this is good. We learn lots of things. What do we learn? Of course, you learn from a society, learn from your life experience. Of course, you're learning things. But the time when you are the age, you're supposed to learn knowledge, but they don't give you the opportunity. They took away that. So basically, Cultural Revolution, in my book, you know, I think that they're ruining the whole thing. They're ruining the Chinese culture and destroy the Chinese culture. And then this thing, for generations and generations, never able to recover. So that's, I think, our program, and eventually, but not today probably, we're going to talk about the depths of the Cultural Revolution, and also how the things CCP took power, how gradually they have a lot of movements that lead to the Cultural Revolution. And so for our audience to understand the more depths of the China. So when we know the history, so we will know what's happened today. So we understand that much clearer.